As a teenager, I used to be obsessed with what the world of computing and technology would look like in 2020. And back then, the only references we had were things hidden in articles, in literature, in books, in movies that almost always pointed to things like the hovercrafts and flying cars and smart homes and computers you could speak to and walls you could interact with as you walked past them. Well, we're 4 months away from 2020, and the only thing that even remotely looks futuristic is actually the Apple campus in Cupertino. Email is still around. The blame has only slightly shifted to Slack a little bit. We still have to dial into our meetings manually, and the fact that somehow PowerPoint is still a thing absolutely drives me insane. While the vision of smart homes and computers you could speak to and holograms is still a ways off, there's still so much innovation happening around us that most leaders actually fail to invest in, which eventually drives them to their inevitable disruption. It's like that amazing William Gibson quote that says, "The future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed yet." And this is exactly the thing that's happening, where you have some companies and leaders that are making the right bets and investing in technology and trying to understand where the technology is heading, which will eventually help them sustain themselves and their companies, where you have some leaders and companies that don't understand where technology is heading and eventually will just become observers and be disrupted as the time passes by. And when I think about how to level this playing field, I think about 4 key areas where every company should be investing in order to sustain themselves in this new future. The first big area of investment is in understanding and managing the greatest assets of any company, its people. Some of the biggest challenges that leaders and organizations face worldwide, it's things like attracting and retaining the best talent. It's things like ensuring that your vision and mission and what you do as a company is relevant to younger generations like the Gen Zs and the millennials. It's upskilling your existing workers and allowing them to stay up to date in this rapidly evolving and rapidly changing world. What leaders and organizations should do in investing in their individual talents, it's by taking both a top-down and a bottom-up approach to managing this talent effectively. When I think about the top-down view, it's investing in a people analytics platform like Visio, which allows you to understand the data behind how you as a company are effectively managing your talent. It allows you to ask questions like, what percentage of the workforce needs to be reskilled? Or who's at the risk of leaving today? Or what kind of talent are we unable to attract? Where are the biggest gaps in the diversity across the organization? This is data that allows you as a leader to investigate and understand your organization better and more effectively. And it's something that every single organization needs to do today. It's understand the data about their people in order to reshape the organization and evolve the organization on an ongoing basis. As much as you as a leader have this top-down approach of the organization and can leverage this data to understand the organization effectively and understand the people more effectively, you also need to make sure that you democratize this data to your people in a way that's a lot more accessible for them to manage themselves better. The bottom-up approach is in data that allows your individual people and your individual teams to manage themselves effectively. It's investing in platforms like Lattice, which allow you to build engaging and high-performing teams that work at the individual level to foster great culture and collaboration and performance. And finally, leaders need to also look externally for data in context of their company and its competitors. So amazing tools like the LinkedIn's economic graph is a treasure trove of information that allows you to build the future of your talent network by understanding what kinds of talent are you unable to attract on an ongoing basis. These 3 approaches of taking a top-down, a bottom-up, and an external approach would allow you to effectively understand your people better so you can effectively manage them on an ongoing basis. The second biggest area of investment is in breaking down knowledge silos. It's understanding the knowledge and the ways of working of your organization on an ongoing basis so you could leverage that data and its understanding to make better and meaningful decisions about how work gets done. 80% of any enterprise's data is stored in documents, 70% of which is free from and unstructured. Now, the problem that most companies have is that data about work is spread across so many different platforms and tools. Take the example of one of my favorite retail and CPG clients who had crucial information that drove their business spread across many different platforms. Their documents were stored on Box, the CRM was on Salesforce, their customer support knowledge base was stored on Intercom, analytics came from Google, personalization models were deployed on Adobe, and SAP managed their supply chain. So at any given point in time, if an executive wanted a holistic view of what on earth was happening across the business, 7 different senior managers from various departments had to pull a report together that was outdated the moment they hit save. So all these systems needed to be built in a way that provided a consistent view of the business, and not as independent silos, but rather as a giant data lake that hosted and housed everything. So the ability of a company to understand insights on the go and make quick changes to react to business are crucial in business today. So what we're beginning to see is the need for companies and executives to make decisions through live data. And the way that they can only do that is by understanding all this data that comes in from different sources in one single holistic view that provides them a dynamic perspective and insight about what's happening across their business. The third big area of investment is in augmenting your people by automating the mundane tasks that get in the way of them doing actual and more meaningful work. We can use technology to automate tasks that get in the way of allowing people to focus on higher order work. Cortana's meeting assistant that was demoed at last year's Build conference gives you a nice glimpse of what a digital assistant can help with. Or even the Google Docs functionality that allows auto-formatting of slides or recognizing visual charts in data stored on table that can quickly be able to represent information in a slightly more visual way. And finally, Expensify, that does an amazing job in using computer vision to categorize and file expenses. Leaders look to investment in tools like this as a way to cut costs and save some money. But what they're forgetting to calculate is the amount of time that it actually takes for a single employee to spend their time doing this, which could potentially be used to do so much more meaningful work. The fourth big area of investment is in collaboration. And when I think about collaboration, it's allowing your company or your people to effectively communicate. Businesses succeed when people, teams, and companies can communicate with each other openly and freely. So when you think about how the technology infrastructure of a business allows for this open and free communication, it needs to be built in a scalable way that creates an ecosystem for collaboration around you. One of my favorite examples of collaboration is how machine learning and deep learning are being applied to drug discovery. It's estimated that there are over 10 to the power of 60 drug-like molecules. That's more than the number of atoms in the entire solar system, which is why discovery of new drugs is a hugely expensive and time-consuming process. But with the amount of data that various research labs have and the computation power available on the cloud today, this is a problem ripe for machine learning and deep learning. The ability of research labs to safely share their techniques and data aid in the discovery of new drugs. So any leader looking to give their organization an edge over their competition should be investing in these 4 areas of people, knowledge, productivity, and collaboration in order to create a more sustainable company for the future. Now, I know there's a big difference between the technology that was promised and the technology that's available today. But what I see is an amazing and an incredible opportunity to leverage this technology to build some amazing companies that will sustain themselves for the future. And what I see right now is frankly nothing short of magic.